I had another experience that was hard. Years ago when we lived in Magna, I was working with the Cub Scouts at that time, and it was a blue and gold banquet we were working on, and I had been at another person's house with my children, Lee and Danny, and Stephen was a baby. And we had come home and come in the house, and I said, Lee, lock the front door, and then he went on playing. And I went in the back and put Stephen in bed. And I came back out, and there was this man in my front room. And I said, get out of my house. And he stood there and looked at me. And the kids were just frozen, Danny and Lee. And I said, Lee, go downstairs and get your dad. Well, he knew that Dad wasn't there. Dale was taking a class into the university. And Lee looked at me. I said, Lee, go downstairs and get your dad. And so Lee turns and goes down the stairs. He could see that it was a situation that you better do what Mom says. And again, I asked the person to get out of my house. And he said, lady, if you want out, you get out. And he went on into the kitchen where I had scissors, so we'd been making this flag and been cutting ribbon for it, crepe paper. And he sat there and he clanked these scissors together, just sitting at the table, clacking the scissors together. And so I took the kids, left poor Stephen in bed, and we had a big front room window, and we went out, and on the porch I watched through the window to make sure this guy never came out of the kitchen to go down the hall. And I said, Lee, run and get Brother Rogers, who was a policeman. And so Lee left to go and get the policeman, and Danny and I stood on the steps, and some neighbor came by and wanted to know what was going on, and I told them, and they got other neighbors, and there was some that was around the back of the house looking in the kitchen window at the person, and others there standing with me. And they called the police. Brother Rogers came down, and he had the police car come, another car. And finally, they got this man out of the house. And I felt that God was with me the whole time through prayer, that he never, ever went back and saw Stephen. And I talked to his wife later, and she said that they had come home, and he had been drinking, and she left him asleep in the back of the car. And they were new neighbors. They had just moved in about a week before, so I didn't recognize him at all. And she said, well, he just fell asleep and thought he was going in his house, and he'd gone through a divorce, and he thought that I was his ex-wife, and that's why he told me to get out of my house. So I had to learn to forgive him. He built a fence between him and Dale together. But that was a hard time to forgive too, and forget, because my children are in danger, and you know, a mother hen and her children, they mean so much. You'll fight for anything for them. So that was a hard time. But it's another time that I had to forgive and forget.